Okay, this is video number 2. If you haven't seen video number 1 in this series, you should go back now and check that out. That's where we set up the foundation that we're going to build on here today. So, quick review. We're talking about sentence structure foundations. We began with the basis of everything, which is clauses. So, a clause simply is subject verb, some SV. You need to have a subject, you need to have a verb, and if you do, then you've got a clause. So John cried is a clause. Types of clauses. This is where we separated it into the independent clauses, which are the clauses that can stand alone. If you want to, you can put a period after John cried, and that could be a sentence. It's complete. You don't have to put a period, but it could be there. That's why it's an independent clause. A dependent clause cannot be a sentence by itself. And what happens is you still have your SV, because it's still a clause, but that subordinator, a type of connector word, comes in front, and suddenly the whole thing does not feel complete anymore. If it rains, yes, keep going. Although Bob has 3 arms, that's not complete. We cannot put a period here. It would not be a full sentence. Okay, with that foundation under our belt, let's move on. The next section here is going to be types of sentences. This is where we start applying our knowledge of these clauses. Our first type of sentence that we're going to look at is called simple sentences. Simple sentences, by definition, have just one independent clause. So I had made the comment above that I was going to highlight independent clauses in yellow. So they have just one independent clause. So really, it can be as simple as John cried. We saw that one before. Period. That's a simple sentence. It could also be something that's a little more complex than that. A little more complicated than that. Such as, after the game, John and Susie went outside and cried softly. Okay, now that might confuse you. You might think that doesn't look like a simple sentence, John. But you're wrong. It is a simple sentence. After the game, this is a little phrase at the beginning of our sentence. We've got a subordinator word. We've got a subject, but there's no verb. So this is not a clause, and so we don't really consider it when we're talking about sentence types. We only care about clauses. So we can forget about this part. Then we have our subject, John, and we have a second subject, Susie. That's okay. You can have multiple subjects side by side. It still is considered one clause. I'll make those bold. Then we have our verb. So we think, okay, that's good. John and Susie went. Subject, verb. Outside and cried. And you're like, hey, John, there's a second verb here. In fact, subject, verb, subject and subject, verb and verb is still considered one clause. For our purposes, this is still a simple sentence. Now, everything would change if I went and put they cried. If I put another subject here, okay, now we've got subject, verb, and we have to put a comma here. We'll learn about that in a moment. And subject, verb. So we would actually have 2 independent clauses here. So I don't want to get ahead of myself. For now, when I say John and Susie went outside and cried softly, that is still considered a simple sentence. Moving on. Now we're getting into the compound sentences. Okay. Oh, we've changed pages. I might as well move this down. Okay. So now we've got our compound sentences. And the definition of a compound sentence, at least the one that I'm going to use, is two or more independent clauses joined in one of three ways. Basically, there are three ways that we can join these two independent clauses. So let's get into those. This video is going to cover the first of these, and it's the most common one. This is our classic. We're going to call this one, I'm going to show you the formula here. Independent clause, comma, FANBOYS, independent clause. This is our first formula. Got our independent clauses there, comma, FANBOYS. Some of you might know what FANBOYS are. Others might be wondering if these are people in a fan club, supporters, FANBOYS. They are not. Here are the FANBOYS, a very limited group of connecting words. These are actually coordinating conjunctions, if you're being technical about it. But the FANBOYS are, and hopefully you can tell, F-A-N is F-A-N, and B-O-Y-S is B-O-Y-S. FANBOYS is just an easy way for us to remember this group of 7 different connecting words. Okay, so what is for? It's not very commonly used in spoken language. It's not even that common in written language, but it does show up. It means because, but it has different grammar. It's got this kind of grammar. It's a FANBOYS. It is used with an independent clause, comma, and then for, and then another independent clause. That is different than because. If we saw up here on yesterday's work, because is one of the subordinators. So different grammar rules apply to because and for. Let me give you an example. I, subject, didn't go, verb. So we have our first independent clause, comma, FANBOYS, for. It was raining. This is subject, verb again. So we have a new independent clause. Can you see how that follows our formula here? Independent clause, comma, FANBOYS, independent clause. We have independent clause, comma, FANBOYS, independent clause. All right, and everybody knows and. Nor is a bit of a rare one as well. It's a little bit less common. It's special in other ways too. It joins two negative clauses, and the second one has a different order. So let me give you an example. I don't like rain. Okay, comma. We have a negative here. Don't. Then you put nor do I enjoy snow. This person is not very fond of moisture, it seems. The weird thing here is how we put verb subject. Do I. This is one of the features that happens with negative words. Sometimes maybe you've seen this with the word never. Something like, never have I seen such a crazy movie, right? There's a phenomenon with certain kinds of negative words that one of the clauses changes from normal SV to VS. I don't want to say too much more about nor, but this is an example. And again, we have an independent clause here, as you can see. And then we have an independent clause here, although it's VS. And we had our comma FANBOYS in the middle, comma nor. But everybody knows, or everybody knows, yet. It's like but it's used mainly for unexpected contrasts, but is used for all kinds of contrast. Okay, it's very versatile. It has many, many uses. Yet is a little bit more rare, and it's used mainly for unexpected contrasts. So an example of that might be something like, right? You don't expect that combination. Someone being short and being a professional basketball player, those two are kind of an unexpected contrast. That's a good place for yet. You could also put but, because but works for all kinds of contrast. Sometimes it's nice to have an option instead of using but, though, so let's use yet, right? Sometimes this is a good place for yet. And then lastly, we have so. I don't think I need to do anything with so. So those are the FANBOYS. And I'm just going to give you some examples here to illustrate how this works. If we saw up above when I talked about the John and Susie went outside and cried softly, right? Let's just take that one down here. Let's copy that one down here to show you. Okay. We had, after the game, John and Susie went outside and cried softly. Okay, we said that was one independent clause. However, if I put they here, we now have two clauses, two independent clauses, SV, as you can see, and SV. And we have a FANBOYS in the middle, our good friend and. So what's wrong here? What's wrong is I need to put a comma. So we have our formula here, independent clause, comma, FANBOYS, independent clause. So we have independent clause, comma, FANBOYS, independent clause, right? When I didn't have they, I didn't have an independent clause here. And so there was no comma at that time. But as soon as I add they, then I need to add the comma. Little personal story here. My dad wrote a book of our family history. It was 600 pages long, and he asked me to edit it for him. And my dad, he's an engineer by training, and he doesn't really understand much about English grammar. So he wrote this 600-page book about our family history, our family tree. And he asked me to edit it, and I saw this mistake so many times. Sometimes he put commas when he shouldn't. Sometimes he didn't put commas when he should. I must have fixed this mistake 1,000 times or more. So I made a quick rule for myself to know, do I need a comma or not? Here's John's rule. I would ask myself, I would say, look at the FANBOYS. Okay. And then look after it. Okay. This worked really great for me. Every time I saw a sentence, I'll take the yellow out here for a moment. I'd see a FANBOYS. And I thought, do I need a comma before it or not? So I would find my FANBOYS, look at the FANBOYS. Then I would look after it. And here's the word after it. Is it a subject? They? Yes, it is a subject. So subject, yes, then comma, yes, before it. But if I got rid of that, I would find my FANBOYS and I would look after it and I would say subject, no. That's a verb. So subject, no, then comma, no. Right? That's how that was my quick rule. I was like, subject, yes, comma, yes. Subject, no, comma, no. Because I had to fix this rule, this mistake thousands of times. And we can go back probably and we can find some examples up here. Here's an example. There's a FANBOYS. Okay, we look after it. Subject, yes, comma, yes, right? There's a perfect example of that. Okay, so that's all that I'm going to say about this first type of compound sentences. It's the independent clause, comma, FANBOYS, independent clause. I'll come back in my next video and we'll move on to the other two types of compound sentences, because I told you that there were 3 ways. And so this was just the first way. So I'll see you back for the next episode.